to this episode of Thrive Alive. I'm LaDawn Jenkins, co-director of the Alive Faith Network, and I'm excited today because we're going to talk about brain health. And joining me for this conversation is Dr. Karen Oruela. Dr. Karen, welcome.
Thank you.
To this episode of Thrive Alive. We're happy to have you join us. Dr. Karen is a vascular neurologist. She's also an associate professor, chief community neurology transformation officer, vice chair of health equity and community engagement in the Department of Neurology at the University of Chicago, Chicago Medicine. So welcome again. Thank you. I wanted to make sure I got all of that out because that's quite impressive to me. So again, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. But before we dive in, we want to talk about brain health, right? So what does brain health actually mean?
So brain health is the ability to do all the functions that we have to do as humans, right? Since like we get up in the morning, try to do our breakfast and go to work, all these amazing things that we do as humans, even from trying to plan a day, to love someone, to exercise, to do everything that like we do as humans. So it's pretty much everything.
Okay, it impacts everything we do.
Correct.
Okay, got that. So when we think about brain health, most people think about going to the gym or watching what they eat, right, for their waistline or their health. But how often should we actually think about these same habits as it relates to our brain?
Yes, I think that all of that, maybe we are not super aware of like how our brain is working all the time. Even if you tie your sneakers to go to the gym, that single activity is just a demonstration of how your brain works. And it's amazing. But we just don't realize as like everything. Like sometimes we can think about our heart health, but we just kind of like don't give the position in our lives that our brain has, because it is a fantastic organ in the human body that make us actually be us and being able to adapt, change, grow. So all of these little things, even going to the gym, are actually actions in support of our brain health. Eating too, all of that just makes it happier, let's put it that way. But we just don't acknowledge that role in our daily practice or daily actions.
So we need to be more intentional about our brain health.
Right? Yes, because I think that if we realize our actions are actually driven by this fantastic system that is our nervous system, we can give that relevance that we have in our own self and saying like, wow, it's amazing that I can tie my sneakers today, right? Yeah. And we just don't acknowledge that privilege to have a brain health that allow us to fulfill our potential.
So a lot of things we just take for granted.
Correct.
That we can do.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Until we can no longer do them.
Exactly.
Right? So data shows dementia cases are rising fast, which as I was thinking about this, it seems like over the last, for me, 10 years, it became real prevalent. Before that, I'm like, I never really heard people talk about dementia.
Yes.
But then I think until it started to hit me personally in terms of my friends, parents who had dementia, or a church member that had dementia, or my stepfather who had dementia. Then it became like, oh, everybody, I see it everywhere now, right? And hear more about that. So, but I've also heard that a lot of this is actually preventable.
Yes.
Right. So what does brain healthy lifestyles do? And what does it really look like on a day-to-day basis for the average person?
Yes.
Since some things are preventable, what could we be doing?
That's an amazing question. And I think that we can frame it in like things that perhaps sound very familiar to us. But I will say like all these actions together are a powerful force to decrease dementia. We probably all know about controlling our blood pressure. Those are kind of like health measurements. Blood cholesterol, blood sugar, for example, but also behaviors. For example, eat well, sleep well. Sleep is like half of our life. And we just don't
True.
realize that half of our life actually are spending sleeping. Just tell me, when you wake up the next morning without like a night of good sleep, you feel like your brain is not working. You are kind of like in a fog. So walking, for example, or physical activity is super important. And social life. I mean, really establishing good connections and relationships. Those are important sort of like behaviors that we know that because the dementia cases are rising as our population starts to age, we start seeing, and us ourselves too, oh my God, I'm not perhaps as sharp as I used to be. And is it normal? Should I be actually doing better? So, and I probably will add something that maybe we don't talk much, and it's purpose. Purpose too. So being aware of how is our sort of like the joy of being alive and joy of like being purposeful in a society perhaps that needs us, it brings us back that meaning, and that sort of like ingrained with our social connections, sleep better habits, no smoking, no that much alcohol, is going to help actually having that thrive brain throughout the years.
That makes a lot of sense. And recently I was looking at a program on the Satyrians, and something that you mentioned, right? That purposeful life, right? Having purpose, having meaning, as well as that social engagement, right? How important those things were to our body, but I think really to our mind, right? And so I do understand, the sleeping and the eating and the exercise, those things are really important, but it's a combination of things. It's just not one or two things. So that's really helpful. And so we hear a lot about heart health, right? But what is the connection between heart health and brain health?
Yes. So, and those are like pretty much a synergistic connection, meaning that one cannot function without the other, right? So it's kind of like that energy, that blood supply that goes through our brain, and even just kind of like that amount of nutrients, oxygen. The brain is so sensitive to any of those changes. If your blood sugar goes down, your brain is going to feel it. If your blood sugar is going up, your brain is going to feel it. And that facilitator is the heart. So the rhythm is important. Even if we think about like what actually the heart carries, the blood, but also the rhythm. And I love that concept of actually setting up the rhythm, and it's a healthy rhythm. Your heart beats, and it's allowing your brain also to beat along with it. And all these changes in rhythm are going to affect the brain in one way or another, accumulating more fat maybe in those vessels, or not allowing sort of like the nutrients to go around the brain. So everything that is interconnected. Also, when we are afraid, our heart starts to just jumping out, and our brain is kind of like saying, okay, defense, action, and our heart starts to jump in. So it's a really interconnected system.
I see that. That's really important. And so why does what's good for the heart also protects what's good for the brain?
Yes. And I think that we haven't, as maybe our emphasis hasn't been as strong on that connection, because I think that we have the tools in place. We know that blood pressure control works, but we haven't made that connection to the community, to the public, and even as a healthcare professionals, like, wow, if we have now blood pressure control, your dementia risk is going to be reduced by 15%. Wow. That's massive. That's a population health change that transforms cities, because we have healthier brains that can actually do work, excel in sports, arts, productivity. By controlling blood pressure is going to be an amazing gain. And I think that this is the time to make that connection and take that agency as a community to say, wow, my blood pressure needs to be good because I want my brain to be good.
Sure. So aside from blood pressure, is there any other areas that you could say that we should focus on?
As far as preventing?
Yes, for prevention.
Yes. So I think that one thing, and again, I think the American Heart Association puts into the life essential 8. And those are behaviors and sort of like health, sort of like measurements, like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your sugar. And the others are physical activity, socializing, eat well, non-smoking, no alcohol, sleep better.
Sleep, yes. And sleep is a big thing.
Sleep is important
It's really,
thing.
everyone I talk with say, oh, I don't get enough sleep.
Oh,
How
that's
much
an
sleep
important point.
should we be getting?
Yeah, so I think that every person needs different amount of sleep, and throughout our age, like different ages or stages in our life, perhaps we need a little bit more or less. And people are able to kind of like have good quality of sleep. Maybe some of them are like 5 hours, 6 hours, up to 8 hours to just kind of have that good quality of sleep. But I want to emphasize why sleep is so important in dementia care.
Yes.
It is really fascinating that in the last sort of like decade or so, we have found that a lot of these sort of like, let's put it, residues or trash that is like the toxins that accumulates in the brain are carried by these sort of like micro teams that actually take the toxin and just take it through little sort of like channels in the brain. That is like called the lymphatic system, and transport them out. So cleaning teams that work at night, and imagine sort of like these mini little trash cans and kind of little minions working in our brain, taking all the toxins out while we're sleeping. And I think that concept is so revolutionary for us because we don't pay so much attention to sleep and how important that is to just facilitate that. Just taking out what the brain doesn't need, but keeping what the brain needs and just kind of like clean it up and make it good memories, good skills, good habits.
So with good sleep habits,
yes,
you're almost resetting your body. Are
yes.
you resetting your body every night?
Yes.
Right? So you
are cleaning it up.
Yes. I like that. I like that term, that imagery of little things working.
Little teams.
Yeah, little teams working and to reset your body.
Just taking off and just working while you're sleeping, which is amazing. Yes. I don't have to do it. My brain is so powerful.
You just need to get the sleep.
You just need to get it.
There you go. Okay, so nearly half the risk factors for cognitive decline are modifiable, right?
Yes.
So which ones give us the biggest bang for our buck?
Oh, this question is great because if I have endless amount of money, I will say blood pressure, because we know that it decreases the risk of all causes of dementia by 15%.
Wow. Okay.
And that's an incredible gain. So the return from investment is going to be huge. So if I say blood pressure control, it doesn't mean that I have to take medications all the time. It involves the other things: sleeping well, eating better, physical activities, purpose, social interactions. All of that is going to reflect in the blood pressure is a measurement of how well all these things are aligned.
Okay.
Sometimes maybe it's hard to just adjust the body, so we need medications. But medications are not the first necessary step. This is what we do as a healthcare professionals, because sometimes we just can't force people to do the behavioral changes. But it's really a reflection of all these things that are in place that sometimes have social determinants of health or non-medical factors. Perhaps someone doesn't have access to great food, or maybe there are not enough parks in the area to actually exercise, or maybe the job wouldn't allow perhaps a great sleep. So all of that becomes a little bit more complex. But if we talk about interventions in my perspective, I definitely invest in blood pressure.
Start there. That would be number one. What would be number two?
Number two will be eating.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Eating good food, fresh produce. What we say, quote, sort of like Mediterranean diet, but really it doesn't have to be. You have to live in Italy or Spain to enjoy that. Basically, what Mediterranean diet does is to have fresh produce. It could be local produce, great, less red meat, less processed food, cook better at home, enjoy the meals. I mean, all that to say that the Mediterranean lifestyle has all that involved. Olive oil, nuts, you can sit down, enjoy your meal. Maybe you don't have to eat in the parking lot and just kind of like trying to feel a little bit full, but you can have that space of like, okay, I'm eating, I'm here, I'm enjoying this amazing product of nature. I've seen these vegetables grow in the summer, how grateful that is, how revolutionary that is.
Okay.
So I think that would be my second best bet.
And what about the third?
The third,
So your
physical
top
activity.
3. Okay.
Physical activity is important for good sleep, for maintaining your heart strong. So even we recommend people to even do moderate physical activity at least 5 times a week.
Okay.
At least 50 minutes of a brisk walk. Go to your grocery and like time it and say like, just gonna try to exercise when I'm doing my shopping, but being intentional about it, perhaps is add that little challenge too.
Okay, so just movement.
Movement.
You need to move.
The brain loves movement.
Okay.
We learn by movement.
Okay.
Because if you think about a baby, the baby can move at first. It depends on everything. How the brain develops is as they are starting to crawl.
Right.
They're starting to get up. They're starting to walk. And the brain is just starting to form and consolidate that.
Okay.
Movement is absolutely important
For brain
for
health.
brain health.
Awesome. Okay. So brain health isn't just about avoiding dementia,
Yes.
which I think I want to avoid dementia.
Yes.
Okay. But you mentioned things like creativity,
Yes.
resilience, adaptability, right? How would we shift the conversation from preventing disease to actively optimizing how our brains function?
I love this reframework because, yes, I think the fear of like getting a disease is an important perspective, but it's not the only one. It's not the framework that I think that we could get motivated as a society. I think that a motivator will be, how can I be the best version of myself to do things that I love the most? How can I be the best dad, the best mom? How can I stay here for my family? How can I stay here for my job? How can I build this business and be creative and actually make money and be proactive? How can I actually be good in Chicago, be a better coach? That's brain health.
Okay.
That's how can I do the activities that I love the most in a maximum sort of like productivity, not only measure in the concept of productivity, but productivity meaning in how can I have best sort of like appreciation for my body and for my existence with my brain.
And so it's almost like being a well-rounded person.
Correct.
How can I be a well-rounded person, right? And try to get the most out of life in a positive way, right? What, to your point, whether it's being creative or art or exercise or whatever, right? Utilize all the tools in our existence, in our toolbox, to help optimize our brains.
And I think that we are a strong competitor, not just to create chaos and fear, but artificial intelligence. If we are not keeping up just to kind of like set up what makes us humans, it's going to be hard to compete. So we need to be even sharper in this area to just maintain this position, as we need to set up the priorities in our city, in our world, in our field, just to kind of like being able to compete with the advancements of technology.
Yes. And I think AI is pushing us there, right? So we do have to be intentional about that. So that's a good point. So women are disproportionately affected by dementia.
Yes.
Right. Is there something specific about brain health that women need to be aware of?
Yes. I think that all what we've talked apply. What we think when we look at every single item that I share, maybe women are disproportionately affected by blood pressure control, for example, by things like obesity or things as mental health issues, abuse, or lack of opportunities of self-development or professional development. Some of like women have been taking the position of like caregivers too. So some of like a family member, and that it becomes a toll in mental health too. So a lot of that, it's actually more intense in women. Women live longer than men, but how they more sort of like affected disproportionately in a stroke because we live longer and have severe strokes, for example, that decreases our ability to kind of like being productive in kind of like later years in life. Also, we are very resilient too.
Yes.
So because perhaps we have to take on like caretaker responsibilities and have to just make sure the family stays and continues and things like that. So there are different angles of how dementia affects women, either from the side of a caretaker, a caregiver, from the side of our patients, and for the side also of our values and roles in society.
So more stress factors.
Correct.
For
Yes.
women.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And
I can see that.
Yes. And also I think that a lot of what it has been done now is kind of like trying to leverage kind of like the playing field for women. How our uniqueness as women have different hormone networks, let's put it that way, in different stages of our life has implication in our brains too, either from reproductive ages or age and pregnancy, post-pregnancy stages, then carrying and making sort of like the family sort of like alive. And then our perimenopause, menopause also has implications in our brain.
Well, just running through all of that just reminds me, wow, right, women are very resilient.
Yes.
That's a whole lot that you just ran through. You know, a woman's life cycle of, you know, all the things that happens to our body.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I can see why there would be higher, you know, impacts on women.
Yes.
So that makes sense. Right. This has been a fascinating conversation. So thank you. But I have one final question. If you could leave our audience with one thing, one message about brain health that you wish more people understood, what would that be?
Be curious about your brain. You can start with that question. How is my brain doing today? Just have your brain in our normal sort of like conversation with yourself. Sounds weird, but say like, how's my blood pressure today? Being amazed by the power of the brain every day. Don't take it for granted. When the brain is no longer working, you are not perhaps able to enjoy things as you were used to. Like my personal experience, I had an accident, for example, I couldn't walk for a certain amount of time. I was amazed by, oh my God, how much do I miss like doing my own stuff by myself? So don't let that sort of like health factor in your life impact or being just at that only moment, sort of like being aware that you have a brain.
Yes.
And sometimes even my patients do that joke, made that joke, like, oh, when I show them the imaging, either a CAT scan or a brain MRI, they joke, oh, do I have a brain? And my reply is like, you have a beautiful brain. Beautiful brain. So I think that I want to leave that as a gift, like, you have a beautiful brain. Take care of that.
I love that. Take care of your beautiful brain. We need it to live, right? So thank you so much for being our guest here today. I hope you got something out of this topic. Brain health is very important, as Dr. Karen just laid out beautifully for us, why it's important that we focus intentionally on our brain health as well. So until next time, thank you for joining us. Talk with you later.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was fun. Thank you.
Hey, Thrive Alive family. This is Jamelia. We want to hear from you about what you learned from this episode and guests that you want to see in the future. What we want you to do now is take 1 minute to fill out our Thrive Alive community survey. You can click the QR code on your screen or go to the link bit.ly/Thrive Alive survey to take our Thrive Alive community survey. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.